Good afternoon, Whisperers, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. My name is Sonya. I'm a lifestyle counselor, fashion psychologist, and naturopathic practitioner. It is so good to be back in our safe zone right here in the Whisperers Lounge. Hope you all have your mocktails on deck. You know what? If you haven't subscribed to our beautiful newsletter, The Whispers Exchange, please make sure you subscribe. There's a live link in a description box in each and every one of our episodes so you can subscribe to the newsletter because let me tell you, we are 2 episodes away from ending season 11. And I have to tell you, this has really been a powerful season. And don't forget that you can always follow us on Instagram at Whispers in a Bottle _podcast as well. And Podbean always has our back. Podbean has put in a live chat box into each and every one of our discussions so you can drop your questions, your comments, or if you need your girl to reiterate something, you know how I love to monitor a great chat box. And the only thing we ask is that you really give dignity and respect to each other and really show up in a way that is honorable because this is a safe zone and everybody's opinion makes this such a powerful discussion. So, with that being said, Whispers, make sure you stay to the end because I have a couple of broadcasting notes that I want to share with you as well. And so we're going to get into today's discussion. And I love to start each and every one of our discussions off with a clear meaning or a definition. And this is no different. So we're going to get the meaning. We have 2 words that we're going to get the meaning of today. The first one is loud. So loud means noisy or blaring, easily audible. So once again, loud means noisy or blaring, easily audible. And the second word is hard. Hard means firm or solid, not easily broken. So the first word we're understanding was loud. The second one is hard, firm or solid, not easily broken. Whisperers, have you ever had one of those discussions that you needed to have and just needed to take a moment with it? I know all of us have had that situation. I know all of us have been in that space and place as well. Well, this is that discussion that we need to have and need to pause and allow it to vibrate at the decimal we need to receive this message. So it's important. Today's discussion is powerful because we've all had those discussions that we've kind of had to lean into a little bit further, a little bit deeper. And this is that discussion today. Are you loving loud or leading hard? So let me ask you this. When you love, do you love loud or when you lead, do you lead hard? Now, at first glance, you might be thinking, what's wrong with either of those? Well, loving loud sounds passionate, intentional, and it also means that it could be open, but leading hard sounds like strong, structured, and disciplined, right? Those are the 2 things that may come into mind. And then if you look at the definition that I gave you for loud and hard, you may say, okay, that's what it is. But this is the thing, Whispers, let me tell you this. Both can easily swing out of balance when they lack one vital element, emotional intelligence. And throughout this whole season and the season before, we have really been building upon that emotional intelligence. So I want you to picture this for a moment. Let's imagine this. Let's imagine standing in front of someone you do deeply care for. And maybe it's your partner, your child, your team members, or even yourself. Let's say even yourself, okay? And as you're speaking, your words are powerful. Your intent is very clear, but the energy, oh, the energy. The energy is rigid, guarded, maybe even a little sharp. and they hear what you're saying, but they're not feeling what you mean. Now, I know all of us have been in a situation in that way. And as a therapist, I've been in that situation even with clients that you kind of have to be a little more stern. And because you have to come in that reverence or have that vibrato a little bit, they may miss the messaging. Or as a parent, you could be trying to speak into your child, and because it's a little more firm and kind of rigid sounding, they miss the point. See, Whisperers, we live in a world that applauds strength but often misunderstands softness. Now, how many times have we heard that? Nowadays you hear this word simp placed on people. And when they say that, you kind of look at them because that's not that space or place. That's not that word. It's not that conjure. It's not anything regarding that whatsoever. See, we equate boundaries with coldness, and many people do, and empathy with even weakness. You know, forbid that a man could be empathetic, compassionate in that space and place. Oh, he's soft. Oh, she's soft, or this, that. We hear those words echoing constantly. They actually reverberate in such a way that it's almost repugnant when we hear it, especially when we're seeing it placed in spaces and places that shouldn't be put. But the truth is, it takes extraordinary power to hold both. Extraordinary power. To love with accountability, to lead with grace. I always said that a quality that my mother had was she was so diplomatic. And she had that ability to balance both of those. And they can have sharp edges. Both of them can have very sharp edges. But she had the ability to kind of wield them in such a way that was masterful. And see, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I know many of you listeners are executives, entrepreneurs, parents, partners. You've been told you have to choose one or the other. That you can't be both tender and strong, empathetic and assertive, compassionate and commanding. But guess what? I'm here to tell you that is absolutely not the truth. That is not the truth. And see, that's why I tell you here at Whispers in a Bottle, there's no gatekeeping. I don't hold nothing back. I put it all on the table. We're going to refine it. We're going to sift it out. It's just like if we were panning for gold, we'd have to sift it out. We'd have to get rid of all the muck and the mire until we got that essence of that gold. There it is. There's that nugget. Because see, we've rinsed out all of that other counterparts of the noise that's around us. So, Whispers, today's episode is about the art of harmonizing, learning to hold space for others without lowering your standards, and learning to hold standards without closing your heart. And I think that's a good way for me to put this today. Because you see, when we lead with only love, we risk losing structure. But when we lead with only structure, we risk losing connection. Now, isn't that something? See, this conversation is about integration. And see, as a luxury lifestyle architect, I teach this. I teach about harmonizing and integrating the two powers that come into such a dynamic force, about how you can show up in your power while staying emotionally present. Because real leadership, real love, isn't about being lewd or hard, or even let's say lulled. I think there's a better word instead, lulled. It's about being aligned. And so many times when we hear this, misalignment is there. It's always something that is kind of missing or slightly askew. So let's unpack what it means to love loud and lead hard. And then we're going to explore how to bring those energies into harmony. And by the end of today's discussion, I want you to walk away with practical. I want you to walk away with practical, soul centered tools that will help you lead with authority and empathy, as well as compassion and clarity. You know, having clear intention, aim, purpose, and direction. You know, that's my thing. You know, I'm going to bring that into our discussion somewhere, and it's going to be folded in. It's just like if you were taking a whipped cream, and after you got those nice fluffy peaks, and then you need to pour in that chocolate, but you have to fold in the chocolate so you don't break those fluffy peaks. It's the same thing that we have to be willing to fold into our lives the same way. Oh, whispers, discussions like these, they make me excited. I'm always like gung ho when I'm in here and I get to pour into discussions like this. That's why I tell you I'm birthing discussions because it's bringing life into our space and place. The Whisperers Lounge is baller. It's just hot and it's so good to have you all here. So I want to give us a great foundation to build upon, okay? Let's start with what these two energies actually mean. And I always tell you, we want to always come in with a good foundation because everything we build upon that foundation then can stand and be strong. So, loving loud is when your empathy runs deep and you give, you nurture, you pour out endlessly. So you care so much that you'll stretch yourself just to see others comfortable or successful. Now you hear how it's going. Now you hear what I'm saying to you. Slow it down if you need to come pick that back up. But this is the thing, it's heart centered. But if it's left unchecked, it can lead to emotional burnout. It leads to resentment or being even taken for granted. Now, that's when you're loving loud. But see, on the other side of the table, or the other hand, when you're leading hard, it's about structure, discipline, accountability, vision. It's when you focus on results, boundaries, and responsibilities. But when that energy isn't balanced, it can come across as distant, intimidating, controlling, non malleable. It has a lot of contradiction in there. But see, both energies are actually valuable. But when one overpowers the other, imbalance takes root. Imbalance takes root. You either find yourself depleted from giving too much or isolated because you've become too guarded. So, whispers, let's lean into how do we create that sweet spot? And you know, I love to speak about that sweet spot because that's where there's vitality. See, the space where love and leadership meet, where empathy and power coexist. They coexist. They're not battling each other. They're not fighting and pulling apart things. They're not into such a deep battle that they're even causing friction and chaos. Remember, we had a whole discussion about chaos and how we're to smooth that and to leave that at the side. And if we don't get this in balance, we will strike up all sorts of chaos in our lives. So, you know what? I think this is a great space and place for us to lean into our master keys. And I want us to look into four powerful master keys that will allow us to really open up the hallways, those corridors, and the secret compartments of our hearts and our mind. Now, all of you all that heard me say master keys, that's the reason I give them out. That's the reason that all of my discussions have master keys. Because, see, they're so powerful, they have the ability to have us open those corridors, the hallways, the secret compartments. Because, see, those are only compartments that you know of. Those are compartments that you are holding dear to you or holding so secret because maybe they're causing chaos. But see, those keys also will allow us to shut out the inner and outer noise that keep us from stepping in, stepping over, stepping up, or passing things that keep us from, tapping into our purpose, keep us holding on to bad habits, keeping us loud, keeping us hard, keeping us from moving in harmonized balance. And, I always tell you, balance is subjective. So it's with that harmony that we want to be put into. So, with that being said, whispers, let's lean into our first master key. The first master key is emotional awareness, feel before you fix. Emotional awareness, feel before you fix. So, before you can hold space for anyone else, you have to be aware of what's living inside of you. Now, you may have noticed how I even dropped my voice so you could really catch that point. Before you can hold space for anyone, you have to be aware of what's living inside of you. And see, many high performers and leaders and caregivers move through life reacting instead of reflecting. It's always a reaction time. It's always a go. It's always I'm on. But it's never a space and place of wait. Pause. Let me reflect on this. See, when you're emotionally unaware, empathy turns into overextension, and you start solving instead of listening, fixing instead of feeling. Now, some of us are very guilty about that. Somebody comes to you and they're talking to you, and instantly your brain goes into, let me see how I can fix this. It doesn't go into, let me hear you, let me listen and see what you're feeling, see what I'm feeling in this space and place, and sitting in awareness. See, emotional awareness means asking yourself a few introspective questions. So when we ask introspective questions, that means deeper questions of ourselves. Like, what am I really feeling right now? What am I feeling? Sometimes people are talking to you and it could be a little charged, it could be a little heavy, it could be heated. And you may be sitting there, oh, when they stop, I'm going to say this as soon as they finish. Oh, wait till they hear what I got to say. But wait a minute, pause for a second. As they're talking to you and you're hearing what they're saying, what am I feeling right now? Besides the point of anger, besides the point of how dare they talk to me like this, what am I feeling? Is this emotion mine? Or am I absorbing someone else's energy? Yeah, sometimes that's what happens. We come into it and we absorb the energy of that person. We're not absorbed in the energy of who we are. Wait a minute, pause, hold on a second. I have to tell you something. When people come in and they have that bravado and everything, people are always shocked because I kind of sit there and look at you for a second. Because, see, I'm tapping into myself. I'm tapping into, well, where is Sonya right at this point? Well, what does this have to really do with me? Hold on a second. They're annoyed over what? Oh, okay. And then I may ask them, well, how do you feel about this? Well, what do you mean? Because, see, the introspective question, they haven't even looked at. The introspective question you may not have even looked at. How is this emotion influencing how I lead or love today? How is it influencing it? How am I putting it forward to my team or to my mate or to my loved ones or to my children? See, when you feel before you fix, you slow down enough to respond instead of reacting. Remember, I told you, are you in control of your emotions or are your emotions in control of you? And so many times in this day to day and in life, we see people where their emotions are constantly running them, constantly taking charge of everything, You see it even when they get in their cars. They're so angry. They're so vexed. They're driving unruly. I mean, in the Northeast, I live in the Northeast. We have a strip up here that is deadly. They've even had to put cameras on there to try to slow down the traffic, try to stop so many of the accidents, so many people getting run over because people are weaponizing their vehicles because they are in this space and place of reacting to everything. Oh, he cut me off. I'm going to cut him off. I'm going to shh, wait. You allow your empathy to be informed by wisdom, not driven by guilt or obligation. It means that you have to practice pausing before you answer. And sometimes that's easier said than done, but let me tell you something. When you practice, yeah, we're talking about practice. You got to practice when to pause and how to pause to let that vibrate at a different decimal. Breathe before directing. And that small moment, whisperers, of self awareness becomes your anchor between loving too much and leading too hard. And that's powerful. That in itself is powerful. Now, if that was the only master key I was going to give you in this discussion, that master key in itself has so many layers in it and so many things that you have to dissect and ingest to just get emotional awareness. Feel before you fix. See, that's dynamic in itself. But no, that's not the only key we're going to get. We're going to lean into our second master key. And the second master key is compassionate boundaries, love without losing yourself. Ooh. Now, I got to tell you this, and I hope you're paying attention. And if you need to come back, you know it's at the 22:05 marker, okay? Boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are not walls. They're framework. Literally, it's the framework that protects connection. And when you set clear standards in how you give and receive energy, you create consistency. You create consistency so that compassionate boundaries start to look and feel like saying no with love, not guilt, meaning it's about honesty and clarity, not being apologetic or making excuses, but really prioritizing your needs while acknowledging the other person's request. It's looking like allowing people to experience discomfort as a pathway to their own growth. So, compassion and compassionate boundaries are like a full bouquet. So imagine if somebody gave you flowers, but it was like they only gave you three. They gave you three little peaked looking little flowers. Oh, I brought you a bouquet of flowers, and you look at it, you're like, oh, thank you so much. But that's not a bouquet. That was just three little flowers. But imagine if they sent you that beautiful bouquet of flowers. It has all the flowers and it may have some carnations, some roses, little pansies, and different little things in a baby's breath. And it's just a full bouquet. Imagine how beautiful it is because it's balanced. It has harmony. It has the different essences that you need. And when you put it in that vase, oh my goodness, it brings like a ray of sunshine. It's the same thing that we have to do in that space and place. But too often, whisperers, we as people believe that holding someone accountable means being harsh. But you realize accountability is actually one of the most loving acts there is. Accountability is one of the most loving acts there is. It tells someone, I see your potential, but I refuse to let you operate beneath it. Now, imagine that. I have to tell you, my parents were about that life. That accountability, I have to tell you, it was like stacks on stacks on stacks. We are accountable for our actions, or we are accountable for our inaction. We are accountable for our reactions as well. But they were this beautiful beacon and this beautiful mirror of that. So there's always cause and effect. And I'm one that stands on that. I stand, as they say, 10 toes deep when it comes to accountability. My clients speak on it, my family speaks on it, my friends speak on it constantly. I hold myself accountable for the things I do, things I don't do, things I need to do. But accountability is always the structure and always in that loving space and place. It operates beneath everything else. It operates in a space of awareness. It operates in allowing us to step in, step over, and step up to our potential, to meet the needs and the desires that we have as people. But when are there is none. What do you see? You see spaces and places that have major holes, major emptiness, an inability to see themselves in true light and awareness. So let me say this to those of you leading teams in relationships or families. Remember, your boundaries teach others how to honor your love. And because without them, empathy becomes an enablement. We teach people how to treat, love, honor, and respect us. And see, that's what accountability does. Accountability allows us to learn, understand, acknowledge, and be present in all facets of our life. All facets. So, how are you teaching your legacy to be accountable? How are you pouring out upon your legacy to be front and center when it comes to loving hard or being loving loud and leading hard? How are you in that space? See, those are the introspective questions you have to be willing to ask. But you realize with us saying that, it would have to mean that we'd have to usher in a third master key. And the third master key that we would have to walk in is the power of presence. Hold space intentionally or on purpose. Now, the power of presence. Hold space intentionally. And you know, intentionally means that we're doing it on purpose. So, holding space isn't about silence, it's about safety. It's creating an environment where others feel seen, not judged. When you hold space, you're saying you don't have to be perfect here, but you do have to be honest here. It's so funny because we play a game in our family and it's called We Listen and We Don't Judge. And matter of fact, you all have probably seen it all over the internet. TikTok, you've seen it probably on Instagram. We listen and we don't judge. The person gets to say something and you're like, what? But you're listening and you're not judging. And it's the same thing when we hold space intentionally. We are listening. We're holding space where it doesn't mean it's about being silent. It's not about being incoherent. It's not. No, it's being intentional with the purpose of what we're holding this space for. That's the bridge between love and leadership. See, powerful leaders and lovers listen to understand, not to respond. They use eye contact, stillness, empathy to communicate values. I love when I get to talk to people, and I always tell you guys I bring a lot of myself into discussions. I share a lot because I want you to really connect with this and see how it really moves, how it really feels. And the one thing that I'm always told by everyone that interacts with me, they feel so much that they have been seen. They feel so much that they have truly been heard, and they feel so much that they have truly been validated. And sometimes as people, that's what we need. And especially as leaders, parents, lovers, friends, that's the extension we need to be able to give. And the extension, think about it this way. If you had an item that you needed to plug up, but the cord was a little too short, would you kind of drag it till the cord just popped? You know, you would go get an extension cord that would extend that cord to be able to be plugged in and used correctly. It's the extension of ourselves. We are extending ourselves to be able to be in a space and place, the power of being present, holding space intentionally on a purpose. That's how powerful this is. Here's the thing, Whispers. You have to start practicing presence daily to be able to do it. So, how I teach or how I help my clients in this space and place. In conversations, put away distractions, be in the moment, and give your undivided attention. Now, I am a person that I have to be accountable and in my space and place with people. I will even tell them if there's things coming in at me, hold on just a second because I can't hear you because I'm focused on this. Hold on a second. Because I'm going to give them my undivided attention. You need to notice your tone, your posture, the energy shift. See how you are present yourself on how other energy may be presenting, giving it respect it deserves. And also not being so quick to react to the energy. Because sometimes people come in and they're carrying a lot of energy and a lot of tenseness in their bodies and all. You may even have a mate that comes in from work and they're kind of like, when they first come in. You need to know to give that person that space. Allow them to come in, allow them to go into that space. Oh, by the way, did I tell you about what I found at the store? Did I get that? No, shh, shh, shh. Give them a moment. Let them go in and change their clothes, take the yuck off from the day, decompress, have maybe a nice cup of hot tea there, coffee, or a nice beverage, and say, I'll catch up with you as soon as you get yourself situated, put your stuff away. They get to come in and be present with you in that space and place. That's why I always tell people that you have to give yourself at least that 30 to 40 minutes before you come into your home with that energy and the bravado of the day. It is required of us to do this. Then we need to ask the questions that invite depth, not just answers. Meaning, lean into the power of why. I tell you constantly, I say it all the time. Why is a power and a life word. When you start leading with the power of why, whoo, honey, you'll hear some stuff. You hear people talk about things because you have breathed and you have placed life into a discussion because you want to know, well, why? Well, why do you feel this way? Oh my goodness. I didn't realize that I was placing this in there. Let me hear how you that feels to you. See, when we lead with the why, the how, and the when, it places elements into the sphere. It places air into our space. It gives different kind of connotation and feeling of, look, I hear you, I see you, I want to know how I can be better for you, but I'm also doing this for me. See, presence is where empathy becomes power. Power. It's the grounding force that gives your leadership love and a connective heart. A connective heart. So let me just say, I run a dynamic team at La Paz, and that is the parent company of Whispers in a Bottle. And I've had my company for now a little over 23 and a half years. Matter of fact, it's 24 years, I believe. And literally, my team will tell you that I have such a connection of heart with them. I have a dynamic energy when it comes into that space and place. No matter what is going on, they know they can come and talk to me. Even if it's something that's a little like, wow, or something has imploded, they know that they can come to me and I will listen to them. I will validate it and I will say, okay, now let's see. Let's see what we can do to fix it. And even when it comes to their personal lives, they know they can talk to me in a deeper space and place. Are you breathing that life into your life, into your business, into your friendships, in the way that you are loving and the way that you are leading? Or is it shut off and is it just kind of constricted? But see, Whisperers, we got 3 powerful master keys, but I got one more to give you. And that 4th master key is holding standards with grace, leading with truth and tenderness. Now, this final key is about marrying structure with softness. Standards are not about control, they're about consistency. They define how you show up and what you accept in your environment. But here's the beauty of grace: it allows flexibility without losing alignment. It means that it's going to holding standards with grace and with dignity. But how does that look? How does that look and how does that really feel? So here it is. This is what holding standards with grace and dignity looks like. Correcting behaviors without attacking identity. So many times, we, as in a relationship or in a partnership, you get into a something and it's correcting the behavior, but oh well, you seem to be such and this. The negative connotations that are placed on. No. It means we correct the behavior without attacking the identity of the person. Sometimes I just have to say that when we come into this, you're quick to reply, but I need you to kind of listen to me for a second. I'm saying it because you have such a dynamic wealth when it comes to situations, but I really would like for you to kind of listen so you can get the full picture of what it is. Now imagine when you say that and you speak into that and you layer it in that texture and that tone. The person receives it. It means offering feedback from care, not ego. See, from care, not ego. It didn't lead with bravado. It didn't lead with I am the president or I am the director. It didn't lead with that. It led with, I really appreciate the way that you. So in turn, it's knowing when to push and when to pause. It's knowing when to push and when to pause. You see, there's power in pausing. There's dynamic energy in pausing. There's dynamic connection in pausing. See, Whisperers, qualities like this are exceptional. And when you lead with both grace and expectation, realistic expectation, people rise. Oh, they rise. They're like cream. They come to the top. But not out of fear, but out of respect and trust. Now, everybody wants to rise in that way. Everybody wants to be greeted and acknowledged in that manner. And some of your best companies and some of your best leaders are standing 10 toes deep in a space and place that are balancing the two, harmonizing the two effortlessly. Effortlessly. And this is where your real power lies, actually. Because when you learn to hold both the love that nurtures and the standards that strengthen, you actually become the type of leader and lover that inspires transformation and not compliance. Now, that's something in itself. You know, Whispers, I tell you constantly, it's powerful to be able to come in and birth such dynamic conversations like this. And I'm always so happy to be able to build upon such powerful topics, to give out such dynamic master keys. Because in life, we need these master keys. We need these reminders. We need to keep elevating ourselves and our standards and our endless possibilities in the way that we would like to show up and show out. That it becomes integral, authentic, and it causes a place and a space that nurtures others, that others feel like, you know what, I got to go. I want to talk to you. I need to work with you. I need to be in that space with you. And that's what we want as people. That's what you should want for yourselves. You know, I like to encourage you to please even share our show, especially topics like this that can empower other beautiful dynamic energies that are out here. We have great associates that we know that need certain things or need certain tools, but don't keep the master keys hidden from them that they need to be able to elevate, to shift, to change, to become the better person, the better friend, the better parent, the better lover that they should be. Sharing is caring. And sometimes we have to be willing to do this because it helps us to shift our mindset and even pivot and move closer to the purpose and the direction that we want. And we want people around us that are vibrating at a higher decimal. We want people that are vibrating at a larger decimal that will cause us to raise our volume. You can't be the only one that's vibrating at a decimal that's deafening, and then everybody else is like unable to hear you because they're not there. They can't hear. It's at a frequency that they are not accustomed to. But then you have this unrealistic expectation and unrealistic thoughts and feelings that lead you back down to, are you loving loud and leading hard? That's how powerful this discussion is, Whispers. So, like I said, I have a couple of broadcast, notes that I want to share with you before I give you my closing statement on today's discussion. Please make sure that you subscribe to our fabulous newsletter because, as you know, we are 2 episodes away to the end of this beautiful season. This season has really been powerful. I have to tell you, Whispers, I have truly enjoyed doing this discussion and bringing this season 11 to life. It's been dynamic. So, like I said, we are only 2 episodes away. And don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. There's always a live link in each and every one of our description boxes. Or come on over to Instagram at whispersinabottle_podcast. Follow the page and DM us, and we will send you a link for the newsletter. So this way, it's so easy for you to subscribe to. Don't forget, if you need support or want to work with me one-on-one, my calendar is always available to you. It's always live in the description boxes. It's always available over on whispersinabottle_podcast at Instagram. And I'm always telling you all that if you need help, you need support, please lean into me. Because sometimes we can't just do it ourselves or we can't do it alone. And we need someone that may have that clarity to be able to bring into that space and place. So don't forget that you can definitely do that. If you would like to have me on your show or to have me as a special guest or an MC, you can lean into my publicist. His name is Trey Bump. You can email him at info@whispersinabottle.podcast.com. Once again, that's info@whispersinabottle.podcast.com. Or if you go over to our Instagram page, you can click on it because it's right in our bio even. So Whisperers, in closing, let me say this. Today's discussion is really about balance. And like I said, I don't use that word balance very often. I use harmony because I know that that is something that we can achieve. Harmony is something we as people can achieve. Sometimes when we say balance, that brings in a lot of anxiety because you're trying to pivot so many things and juggle so many things. So why place something in the middle of the room that has a timer on it that feels like it's going to explode? So let's use harmony instead. Today's discussion is about harmony, but not a 50-50 kind of harmony. It's about integration, bringing it all together seamlessly. And there'll be days when your empathy needs to speak louder, and others when your authority must take the leadership, must take the stance, must step into that space and place. But when you're anchored in awareness, you're anchored in compassion, you're anchored in presence and grace, you'll know how to shift without losing yourself. You'll learn how to shift without losing yourself. So I want you to ask yourself tonight, am I loving loud or losing my standards? Am I leading hard or losing my softness? And what would it look like to lead and love from harmony? And only you can answer that. And only you can sit in that space, in that place. Because when you learn to hold space and hold standards, you stop choosing between power and peace. You start embodying both. You start breathing freely in that space. See, Whispers, I thank you for spending your life seconds, for allowing me to speak over you in a dynamic manner to bring the balance in here. You realize that you have given me 47 minutes of your time today, and I appreciate it because some conversations are big and we need to unpack them carefully, and we need to speak into them in a different manner, a different tone, and a different ability. So with that being said, Whisperers, you have been listening to Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, a clear voice amongst the noise. Make sure you come back next Friday right here in our safe zone at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Podbean. And my name is Sonya Lorraine. I'm a lifestyle counselor, fashion psychologist, and naturopathic practitioner, but I'm always honored to say that I am your host. All right, guys, please have a safe weekend. Please stay warm. You know we're dealing with the cold on the East Coast, and across the map, there's a lot of weather that's happening. So be safe, check on your loved ones, and have a beautiful day. All right, guys, till next week.